All right. Hopefully that works. Boom. Oh, I'm clipping. Turn that down a little bit. Sorry about that. Hey, welcome back to my garage. Can do another little video here. Today, I'm going to be talking about all the cars I have owned in my life. I estimated about 12 to 15 without actually sitting down and counting. And then I sat down and counted today. Found different pictures and some interesting stuff. So, if you're into this, I appreciate you stopping by. Like, subscribe, do all the fun YouTube stuff so I can keep making YouTube videos and maybe one day stop working so damn hard on an actual work and just make fun videos. That sounds way more fun to me. So yeah. Let's see. Got the laptop set up a bit comfier today, so I should be able to come through here. And let's go over to my list. Boom, spreadsheet. I've got... Hey, wait. Alright, I'm just gonna have to hope that's recording correctly and go from there. So this is it. This is my spreadsheet on every car I've owned ever, and like I thought, 75% of them have been manual, which is pretty neat if you ask me. Yeah, we've got the 63 Bug. The Jeep Wrangler was technically my grandma's, but I drove it a ton, and she let me borrow it all the time because my Bug was constantly broken. Oh, I can't read. Oh, it's all my information, but still. Anyway, Jeep Wrangler, then I had my Tundra, then I traded the Tundra for a Mini, traded the Mini for an F-150, traded the F-150 for a Civic. Sorry. Traded this, the Civic died. And then I got the Legacy, ran that for a little bit. The Legacy clutch went out. And I ended up just selling it for like $500, I think. Because the clutch was $1,200. And I was like, no. But from the Legacy to the 4Runner, still have to this day. That is best vehicle I've ever owned. Yeah, I don't see myself getting rid of it ever. It's only 183,000 miles right now on an 06. That is the 4-liter V6 1GRFE engine, and it will never die. So why would I get rid of it? From there, I ended up saving up for a little bit, got my job, and I bought an 09 Mini Cooper S. Then I sold that, bought the 86, then I got the Supra, best vehicle I've ever driven, ever owned. Whew, that thing, that was a winner. And from the Supra, we just got the BMW. I did have a 04 Kawasaki Ninja that Gino gave to me when he got deployed. That's a friend of mine. And then I bought an 81 Honda CX500 Custom after I got out of chemo, because I really wanted something to do, and I owned that bike until, well, I guess it was actually 22 to 23, because I owned it through a winter into a spring, sold it in the summer, and then bought the Mini with some of the proceeds from that. But here's where it's gonna get fun. I've got pictures of most of them. Yeah, so let's go through a little memory lane. Ooh, not the best picture, but that's okay. Oh, I wanted that to be better, but damn. Look at that guy. Freaking gorgeous. I bought this in high school. I worked on an onion farm, saved up some money, and I got this car for I think $4,000 with no engine. Dude that I bought it from was drag racing it, and he was about to break a 9-second quarter mile, I believe, is what he was saying. And after you go sub 9, you need to cage it with a roll cage, and he just couldn't do it. It's too clean of a bug. So he sold me the car as a roller, no engine. We happened to be working on a Baja Bug at the same time, so I had a 1643cc Volkswagen engine sitting in the backyard. So I took that, plugged it in, boom, got a car. Ran this guy through 3 different engines, and oh my goodness, it was something. Sees the first one low oil, sees the second one low oil. It just kept dumping oil, and I don't know why. I don't know what I did, but it was never really happy. So go away. And yeah, that was my first car. After that, how do I do this? Beep. See, I think I had one more. Yeah, look at that guy. What a car. I would take this thing to car shows and drive it down the boulevard. Ooh, I actually got 2 horror stories that happened in this thing. One, what is that? I don't remember what that was, but that's funny looking. One, I got rear-ended by crackhead method, something like that. They had insurance, but my god, that was pulling teeth that weren't there, if you know what I mean. Trying to get this through insurance and get it all redone, because yeah, they just crunched that rear bumper and deck lid and made it undrivable. And if you know anything about Volkswagen Bugs, that's where your motor is, so that's pretty tough. Really worried about that. I don't remember off the top of my head if I needed a new engine after that specifically, but yeah, well, it ended up getting fixed. I had it back for probably 2 weeks to a month, if that. And my lovely mother backed into this beautiful hood and crunched it, and I had to go get it fixed again, paint corrected, body, everything. Dude, I did a lot of the body work myself, if I'm not mistaken. We had my dad was a mechanic, so we had all the hammers and metal work and stuff, and I did so much body, just tap, trying to get that hood cleaned and straight again. Got it as good as I could, and then I took it to a paint shop, had them repaint it, and as soon as that was done, I was petrified. I didn't want anything else to happen to this car again, and well, I ended up selling it. Well, I traded it, and I traded it for an O2 Tundra. Now that I'm sitting here after making this lovely folder, I'm remembering I didn't get a picture of my O2 Tundra, so editing Chris will put that in there. But in the entire time I had the Bug, like I said, my grandma would let me use her Jeep, and her Jeep was a 95 Wrangler, soft top, 4-cylinder. It was the reason I don't like Jeeps to this day. It was just so unruly. I drove it how it shouldn't have been. Jeeps are great for off-roading, and that is it. They're off-roading vehicles. They are not drive them around in the city cars, and I tried to drive it around the city, and it sucked. So I had that, but Love you, Grandma. Thanks for letting me use your Jeep as much as you did. They look just like this one without the big tires. Had some off-road tires, but yeah, nothing crazy. And that got me until I got my Tundra, which I'll just Google. 2002 Tundra. I had a black one like this. All black, no chrome anywhere, except for maybe the bumper up front. And I put it came with a 6-inch lift on airbags, onboard compressor, so you could and it was so much fun. Did a ton of off-roading, did a ton of driving in this car, and it was rear-wheel drive, no 4x4. I was enjoying it, loving it, but at the time I was driving to LA a lot, which was like 70 miles, I want to say, and it was just not good on gas. It was a V8 that had 4.7 dual overhead cam. I paid $1,200 to get the timing done at 110,000 miles or something like that. And I was terrified because it's an interference engine, but it was gonna just explode one day, but it never did. Got it timing done, and yeah, I ended up using that truck for probably close to a year until I wanted something good on gas, a bit more fun to drive, a bit more efficient. So from this, I ended up straight across trading for my first Mini, and this was, I wanted something small, like the Bug, but fun, fast, reliable. Boy, was I an idiot. This was fun and fast, but not reliable. This was the 03 R53 model, so it was the supercharged. Holy crap. Supercharged a 1.6 liter engine and put a 2,000 pound body on it, and you're just zipping around. It was so much fun. This little guy, we did mountain trips with Cash, and I drove this car from California to Colorado when I moved, and it made it. The front end got beat quite a bit. Did all the blackout, and oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that plastic was gone at this point. This thing took a beating, but took us everywhere we wanted to go once we got here. A little Cash in the way, and yeah, this car really ignited my love for Mini Coopers. I absolutely adored this vehicle, and it was so sad to have to let it go. But when I moved to Colorado, I lived way out where the snow drifts the wind would blow and the snow would pile up, and my car would be completely buried, and I couldn't drive it. I couldn't go to work, and I needed to be able to go to work, so it was unfortunate, but I had to let it go. And when I did, I got this guy. 1991 F-150 with rhino liner all over. That was the paint job, was rhino lining, and it was pretty fucking crazy. This thing had 2 gas tanks. 2 tanks. I think they were 15 to 20 gallons each, and I'd still have to fill up almost every other, if not every day. I lived 30 miles from where I worked. I would drive to work in the morning, drive back to where I was living, pick up Cash, then drive another 30 plus miles to the dog park that I really like to go to. And gas was only like 2 something when I first moved here, and that was the only reason it was feasible. One second. You just hear my dogs freaking out inside. Didn't know what that was about. I believe all is fine though, so yeah. Where was I? gas was cheap. I lived far. I drove a lot. This truck was so infeasible to keep owning where I was at the time. I ended up using this truck to move from that super far away place to in town. Once I did that, I was like, it's not too bad, but it wasn't fun, and I missed having something fun to drive. The Mini was just this thing that I had to let go, and once I moved into the city, I wouldn't have had to let it go. So I owned this truck for probably 6 months to 8 months until one of my friends, coworkers, we were talking one day, and he was like, "Man, I've always wanted to own a truck." And I was like, I see you have a Honda Civic. I want something that doesn't suck to drive and suck all the fuel out of it every 30 seconds. So we traded. Straight trade across. I had title in hand. He unfortunately did not. And so we were like, whatever. I'll just keep it registered to you. Who cares? I'll just, if someone calls, tell them I didn't steal it. And yeah, so we did that. And it ended up falling, like the clutch pedal fell apart. Maybe it was the gas. One of the pedals, there was like a pin that held it in, and the pin came out one time while he was driving, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks after we traded, and he was pissed. And I was like, bro, we traded, like, as is, it is what it is. I'll help you put the pedal back together and tape it all up as best I can, but like, it is what it is. Not the best thing to happen with a friend. Don't trade vehicles with your friends unless you're both very clear on what you're getting. What ended up happening to the Civic was I went and I was like, bro, when's the last time this thing got an oil change? And he was like, I don't know, like 20,000 miles ago. So I took it. I was being lazy. Took it to a Midas and had them change the oil. Well, the next day, I drove it to work. Parked where I always park, or walk in. I wasn't even working. I was just going in for something. We owned the diner. It was, someone needed me for something. So I went in, walked in, 10, 15 minutes, walk out. All of the oil had drained from this vehicle. The $60 oil change I just spent all my money on was now under the car, and I was like, shit, well, that's it. It's fucked. I had stopped working on cars, essentially. I was not in the best place, it was young, wild times, and I wasn't about to jack the car up and do anything to it, so it sat there for a couple of weeks until I listed it online. I think I sold that for $350 to maybe $1,000, maybe, probably not, because the dude that bought it wanted the title. So I was like, hey, I need the title now. Couldn't end up getting it. Dude's dad had the title, or friend's dad had the title, and he was in Oregon, he was military, he moved around a lot. Never found that title. So I think the deal when I sold it was $500 now, $500 when you get me the title. Never got the title, never got that money. Dude got the Civic for steal of a lifetime. And then I had no car. And luckily, we lived together, or my old roommate lived together, we worked together, so we just carpooled. And I took his car when he didn't need to go in. He would bring me when we both did. And I did that for a month and a half, 2 months. Saved up some money, and then I ended up buying the 91 Subaru Legacy. I misspoke in the last video. It was a Legacy, not an Impreza, and it was the wagon. The wagon had so many cool little things about it. Pop-out cup holders. It was shitty. It was my, to this day, first and only all-wheel drive car. And I felt great about that. I was driving a ton. It was always in the snow. Never felt unsafe. It was awesome. Put $400 worth of tires on it. Perfect car. Until one day, I'm driving up a hill and I go to shift and nothing happened. Like, I hit the gas and the fucking vroom, and I was like, what is going on? My clutch was going out. So I drove it until the clutch was entirely just melted. Didn't do anything anymore. And then I ended up selling that, like I said, for like, I think $400 or $500. Just, I wanted to recoup cost of tires. Did that and had no car again. That was a manual as well. So far, let's check my spreadsheet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these vehicles of 7 were manual. I just didn't drive automatics, and what is that? 90% of the time so far. I only drove manuals, so I ended up walking to work for a while. I luckily at the time lived like 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles from where I was working. But unluckily at the time, it was January, February in Colorado, so it was fucking 0 degrees and snowing all the goddamn time. But I was walking to work, and I walked for probably a month, 2 months. Walk there, and that's where I ended up meeting Kat, and she would help get me rides as much as possible. But yeah, I was walking to and from work until I got the 4Runner. That's not the 4Runner. Boom, 2Runner, baby. And that's because I bought a 4Runner purely based on the looks. I wanted an SUV that would fit me comfortably, that would fit Kat, that I could not be embarrassed driving around in. I didn't want another truck because I didn't like how they drove in the snow. I didn't want a car because at the time I still am very car snobby. I only like certain cars and it's very aesthetic based, and if they don't look good, I have no interest. And, you know, Mini Coopers might not be everyone's cup of tea, but they were mine, and I liked them, and I wanted another one, and I couldn't fucking find one for cheap. So I said, fine, I'll get an SUV, but I'm getting the best looking SUV. Thing about that is, there's what's known as the Toyota tax, and in Colorado, there's a Toyota and a 4-wheel drive tax. You want both? It's about 15 to 20 grand. Boom, done. Get over it. That's what they cost. I was shopping with about a $7,500 budget. Well, I finally found a 4Runner. Black, it looked good. I could happily and proudly drive this vehicle wherever it needed. I just didn't realize it wasn't 4-wheel drive. So, hard negotiated dealership up in Denver, $7,500 out the door, tax, title, everything. I have $7,500. That's it. Get that hammered in. They're like, sure, fine, come get it, do it, let's go. And so I go get it. This is after a month after I realized like, I want a 4Runner. Let's get one. You go look at one, and it's sold. You go to look at one, it's sold. I didn't have a car, so I couldn't just go whenever I wanted. I was hoping someone could give me rides to go look at cars. Well, I realized today why this one wasn't like that. Because they sold it to me, and I don't think they once ever mentioned that it was rear-wheel drive, not 4x4. And at the time, I was like, whatever, dude, it's 4Runner. It's gonna be good in the snow. Like, who cares? And you know what? It is. As long as you have decent tires on this truck, it's fine. Most of the time, I've only slid and slipped and been stuck a couple of times. But, you know, you figure it out. And tires make the biggest difference, no matter what anyone tells you. So, I have the 2Runner to this day. Best vehicle I've ever owned. Most asterisk. It's the best vehicle I've ever owned. Just as far as comfort, reliability, consistency. If I need to go somewhere, I can hop in, turn the key, it's gonna fucking go. Love this truck. But from there, whilst owning this, I went through 2019 to 2022. Whole lot of stuff happened, and all of a sudden I'm in the market for an extra car. And what did I find if it wasn't my former boss's son's Mini Cooper? He talked about it all the time. He was like, yeah, it's great, you know, it's the sport, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my god, a sport Mini Cooper. 09, that's turbo. Never had one of those. Let's do it. Now in my head, again, I wasn't making the best research decisions with this. I didn't even realize until I went to... It was a month or two before I actually bought it. We've been talking about this for months, and I was like, dude, when he's done, let me know. He was finally done. I finally say, yeah, I got the money, let's do this. It's automatic. And that was this car's downfall for me. It was fun, it was great, but it was automatic. That's not what I like. That's not what my fun car should be. And I didn't really realize how important it was for me to drive a manual until this car, I think. Because the 4Runner, perfect, who cares? Put it in drive, go wherever you need to go. It's the workhorse, man. But when I bought this as my fun car, I was like, oh, well, you know, I guess I'll just manual swap it someday. Do you know how much room is in the engine bay of a Mini Cooper? I do. It's no room, as a matter of fact. No room at all. Oh, we're getting ahead. I thought I had a picture of me when I had torn this entire vehicle apart, but I ended up blowing up the automatic transmission that was in it, and I said, fuck it, I'm gonna take it all apart and I'm gonna do it myself. I did a transmission swap on a Mini Cooper S Clubman, in my driveway. Holy crap, that was so much work. I almost died crushing myself because it was me. I didn't really have any car friends at the time. I mean, some people at work, but you know, I just did it. And I took the whole thing apart, I put it back together. Holy crap, it's windy. I did it all in my driveway. Found a transmission online for like $250, drove 300 miles across Colorado to get it, and I did it. It was awesome, but it was still automatic. I couldn't find a manual transmission for the life of me. And I looked for, you know, the entire time it took to diagnose, take apart, figure out what I needed, all the things, and then I wanted to drive it. It was coming up on spring again. I bought this July, blew the transmission in August, September, and then swapped it over the winter. Spring's coming up, I wanted to be back in it, and I did. I found a transmission, I said fuck it, I got new transmission, new coolant system, new intercooler. I painted it, obviously, to this charcoal-y kind of gray with purple accents, and let's see, did I get a shot of the wheels I did? I don't think so. No. But I ended up buying some wheels, refinishing them, did the whole nine. Bought the car for $1,500, probably put $750 in parts and did all the labor myself, and sold it for $3,000. I sold it because after it was all said and done, I still wanted a manual. And it also made me realize how much I appreciate the driving feel of rear-wheel drive cars. Up to this point, I've had, let's see, Bug rear-wheel drive, Wrangler rear-wheel drive, Tundra rear-wheel drive, Mini front-wheel drive, F-150 rear-wheel, but technically had 4x4, I just didn't know how to use it. Civic was front-wheel drive, but I only had that car for like a month. Legacy was all-wheel drive, 4Runner rear-wheel drive. Boom, Mini front-wheel drive, turbo. I put new tires, new wheels, and I hated how it felt. The understeer, I want to say is what it's called. I always get them confused. Turning, going fast, not going tight. Hate that feeling. It just wasn't good. It wasn't satisfying. So I ended up selling it. And that's when I was working at Toyota and I saw we had an incoming fun little guy named the GR86. Now the GR86 is the first new car I ever bought. I never thought I would be able to buy a new car, and my God, this is a great looking car. I love this thing's aesthetic, I love the shape, the lines, everything about this car is beautiful. But at this point, it was a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder Subaru engine, which is fine. Like, they did 224 horsepower. It was more than the Mini. It was more than everything I'd ever driven, really. But it was underwhelming. I didn't like how it sounded. I didn't like how it felt. But it was a great car. I remember in high school when the what was it? Was it the BRZ? No. The Scion FRS released when I was in high school. Dating myself a little bit. 2012, 2013. And I wanted one so freaking bad. So bad. It was the coolest thing. And that's what this is. So, like, my head was like, yes, this is perfect. 30 grand. I work at the dealership. I can get set up. Like, let's do it. And I did. Oh my goodness, we had fun. We drove, we drifted around a bit too much because rear-wheel drive, Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, low center of gravity. This car is awesome. But then something came along, and as much as I loved this car and owning this car, the opportunity alone to have the next car, I couldn't pass up. I was doing well at work, and I said, you know what? There's a wait list for years for people to get this vehicle, and I don't have to do that. I can make the rules. Nobody wants black. Boom. I'll take it. I got a 2024 GR Supra. Yeah, this is the best car I've ever owned. It is the most beautiful car I've ever owned. It is the fastest car I've ever owned. B58, 382 horsepower. Just 2 seats, 2 subs, leather, heated steering wheel, like everything, and it was a manual. And I said, holy crap. I stopped driving the GR86 for like a month while I waited for this to come in, just to keep the miles as low as possible, so when I traded it in I can get as much equity for this, double the cost, in my opinion probably closer to double the horsepower as the 86, and look at it, it's just so freaking gorgeous. I did 6,000 miles in this car. We drove it to Nashville. I drove it every single day. This car is so amazing. I cannot wait to have another one. But things happen. Don't have it anymore. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and that leads us to our latest vehicle, the BMW 128i. I don't know about this thing, and it's for the same thing that I keep going back to. It's an automatic. I think the chassis is amazing, the steering's amazing, the handles, it's so fun. There's a list of mods to the moon that I can do with it, and I will, but it's a 6-cylinder, naturally aspirated, 13-year-old vehicle at this point. I've already done all the blackout on all the chrome. I did mirror caps, I've done oil change, I've done the front suspension. I've got a lot to do, and I'm gonna make it a manual, as I have said many a times now, and we'll see how I feel about it then. But as of right now, this is the 4th automatic vehicle I've ever owned, and it's just not it. I hope and pray it's because it's an automatic, but we'll see. Once I do that manual swap, we'll see how much I love it or hate it, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's all the cars I've owned, with some picture assistance. I think I didn't show the O2 Civic because I never took a picture of it. It was that unremarkable to me. And yeah, dude, ladies, gents, if you made it this far, thank you. Please like, subscribe. I'm gonna be posting more fun facts, more history. I can go in depth on every one of these cars and what makes them special and what's cool about them, and we can do like a little series on stuff I've owned, stuff I want to own. That can be another one, my top 10 dream cars. But yeah, 75% of the vehicles I've ever owned and daily driven were manual, and I think that's a huge reason I love the feel the way it is, and why I want another one, and why I'm gonna make this BMW one of these days. Thanks for watching. Hopefully it doesn't suck, and yeah, peace.